Hi, this is James, and for today's video I'm talking about leaks and snippets and I guess like modern music marketing. And to get things started off, I'll say I make music and I'll touch on it later, but check my music out. It's on this channel and all streaming services. James Co. I only know what the people before me said. Now, when it comes to leaks and snippets, I think it's important to start where like leaks and snippets actually mattered, which is the Napster and LimeWire era of consumption. This being due to the fact that for the first time, people started taking leaks as substitutes for published music. And not only that, like you really saw, I mean, there was the Metallica situation. There was a few situations of big artists getting leaked on these platforms and people downloading it as a substitute for actually buying the music. So artists started to take it serious, I guess. Some of them at least. Some of them viewed it as harming profits. Others viewed it as like free advertising, essentially. Now, at this time, no one really cared like what the source of the leaks were as much as they do now. And it was far from intentional. The idea of intentionally leaking something was absurd, or previewing something in a certain sort of manner. And if you want to talk about leaks, it's hard not to mention like DJ Drama and the fact that it seems that he has had an amount of stuff that he was involved with leak in a way that was impacting his career in a way that's insane. I mean, even like a few years back, like an album got leaked of him and Kid Cudi and other artists. But like, how is this still happening to him in this way? You'd think he would like change his passwords, but I guess not. What this kind of leads to is like the blog era was full of leaked stuff. It was how people got successful. It was still not intentional, and there was a lot of stuff outside of publishing. This was a time in which a lot of people were like intentionally not having professionally published music and instead going to websites like MySpace to promote their music. And I guess in a way like self-releasing it, but not in like a conventional way. And this of course led to like a lot of like limited versions of tracks in the sense of like people using other people's beats. I mean, truly like a mixtape era in terms of beat selection and stuff that were never really intended for broader consumption, more of like a fun thing for fans. Some of these even got radio play, but that's sort of a different conversation. But when people started realizing that the intentional leak and snippet of music is one of the best ways to get people involved, because people will get excited about a song and you don't even have to release it as a single, so you avoid the packaging, marketing, and promotion of that. It happens spontaneously and naturally. It builds up anticipation, and you don't run the risk of an album disappointing after a successful single. I mean, it's sort of like the best situation you can be in a lot of ways, because this sort of natural excitement is music focused. It's not an externality. It's not some goofy, gimmick. It is the music itself that's attracting the consumer. I mean, now you see people talk about like the whole like intentionally leaked song or the intentionally leaked snippet. I mean, the snippet thing is crazy. I mean, think of the SoundCloud era. How many great songs were like snippets that Uzi premiered on a live stream? Or like, I mean, the most famous to me for that I think of when I think of snippets is the ZZ snippet. I mean, the fact that people still to this day know what I would be referencing when I say the ZZ snippet. And then when you think of an intentionally leaked track, it almost doesn't feel real. The idea of purposely putting something out there that is only meant to further your popularity, it's not meant to generate streams for you or sales. And you take something like Pissy Pamper, like the Kid Cudi song, no sample clearance, and it was like #1 on Spotify, but it doesn't like officially chart because it's not like a song that's like actually technically out there. And I would be shocked if that wasn't an intentionally leaked thing, considering the quality of the audio with that. Or even like take some of the like Kanye stuff. It's like he somehow managed to have like every version of stuff be out there. You can find demos of so many of his songs out there, and you can compare, and sometimes, hey, this is better, whatever. I mean, think of how many versions of 80 Degrees it took to become Hurricane that now you can like listen to each step. And it's like, oh, Ant Clemens had the best version. And this sort of marketing, I think, like peaked in the late 2010s. I think like 2018 to 2019 was when you saw a lot of what I'm going to call like Instagram stories and Instagram live leaking, which is like literally just artists playing their stuff for reaction. And you kind of saw it die in the 2020s with brief exceptions. One of the ultimate versions of like the snippet promotion is the TikTok intentional snippet where it's like, so I just made this. did I just make this? Or I wanted to make a song about this, and they just play a snippet of the song. It's like the least creative marketing ever. And you saw that a lot with this in the singer-songwriter space. It doesn't really work anymore. You don't see any artists blowing up that way anymore. However, you did see a lot of artists on TikTok in like 2019 use that method and gain a lot of traction really quick, get signed. And now there's some artists that we love today, or at the very least are very popular. And I wasn't really thinking about this, but I recently saw some old videos come across my feed of Charlie XCX when she was first promoting Brat, was doing that method. She was doing the whole, so I wanted to make like a cute little song, and then just would play like a snippet, and it would be like Von Dutch or something. And it's like, that didn't fully work. So what people forget about Brat, to me, that makes it so interesting, is the natural buildup it had was something that I can only compare to something like Steve Lacy's Gemini Rights, where it's like there was this natural phenomenon with it where it came out and the singles were appreciated at the time, the fans loved it, and it broke containment to a certain extent. But it wasn't until the full project came out and people were really like immersed in it that everyone started to talk about it, and it was this very natural thing. I mean, it used to be how things were naturally promoted, a lot of word of mouth. But Brat was a sort of like example of that happening in such a massive way, where it was a successful album for Charlie, and then it broke containment to the ultimate, extent that an album possibly could. And to think that like her initial marketing strategies of premiering the song that way were probably the least successful marketing she did for the album is kind of interesting. It sort of symbolizes how the 2020s, this method doesn't really work in the same way. I mean, now you're seeing with an example to me that is massive is like with Donald Glover's radio station thing, where he would premiere like full songs that weren't out and people would listen and then post the leak, but it didn't really impact streaming in the sense of like no one was only streaming the leak and then not streaming the official version when it came out. And that to me is something really interesting about snippet and leak culture, is that it doesn't usually take away from the song if it eventually ends up getting like published. When Drake leaked Life of the Party with Andre 3000 by Kanye as part of like some sort of personal beef or whatever it was, that ended up doing great numbers for the song. Like that ended up being something where people ended up streaming that song a lot when it came out. And I don't want to pretend like it was all good, because you saw a lot of artists get negative feedback and then just not release something. And that to me is like the worst thing. And I remember there was like a Tyler, the Creator clip in an interview where he was complaining about that and how artists are doing that. And yes, it's annoying. And I cannot express like how bad this is. I mean, it totally like revokes like artistic control. However, there is one positive example, and that positive example is for anyone who remembers the Kid Cudi Rage song. That was so horrendously bad and the worst TikTok of all time. It was the worst TikTok of all time for one of the worst songs of all time, and it was remarkably bad. Now I'm saying this as someone who I love Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi was one of my favorite artists. He was my favorite artist for like 4 years. I mean, he releases the worst snippet of all time, and he changed the course that the album he was making was going down. I mean, it's like insane to think about, but it's like, yeah, he truly like was so off the mark. But that's a rare exception. Generally, artists should not care at all about public reception of something, especially before it comes out. So yeah, the sort of intentional leak and snippet thing isn't great at gaining traction in the same way it used to. We aren't really seeing that happen as much. So this like Kendrick leak comes out on his YouTube channel, and it's a song I've heard on TikTok 1,000 times, but now it's the full song. And whoever it was that hacked his stuff, it's like, yeah, it's like not really promoting it at all. And like, I would be shocked if anyone is going to discover Kendrick through this or start to listen to Kendrick through this. And I think it's like, especially for a small artist, I don't understand the point of leaks and snippets. So it's like, at best, if you're an artist, it stays neutral for you, right? I guess you're in the public conscious, but you might as well just release a song. Or if you're a small artist, there's definitely no point to the snippet thing, in the sense like of rather literally like, yeah, it works as like an introduction, but it's like, wouldn't you rather have the song out there? Like, stop pretending like what the 5,000 streams you might get first week is going to be the difference between like it's not. It's like, oh, you might get a little bit less first week, but at the end of the day, the Spotify algorithm or the Apple Music algorithm is not going to promote it at that low of a level, regardless of what you get. I'm not saying that's how it should be. I'm just saying it's realistically what it is. So I think like a lot of artists, I think would be better suited to actually putting their stuff out there. And especially when you see all the posthumous stuff going on now, a lot of stuff was not meant to be released. And I think now there's this tendency where any of the things you're like 50-50 on as an artist, you're supposed to tease. And it's like, no, don't tease it at all. Especially now when like everyone recognizes those gimmicks as intentional and marketing schemes. And I will say, I feel bad for artists who can't control like what gets released of them. And like now we're seeing Ariana Grande just announce this like lawsuit against some people that were like hacking and leaking songs and stuff. And honestly, it's a really weird situation in the sense of like, I think because leaks no longer serve the purpose of the marketing purpose that they used to, artists now are recognizing, hey, this is like a crazy breach of privacy and this is weird. And when it doesn't benefit you, it doesn't benefit you and it's harmful. And at the end of the day, this is expression. You should have control of your own expression. And I think the whole intentional leaks and snippets are at the very least not as dominant as they used to be. And I hope that it, as a trend in marketing, doesn't really function the same way it used to. And I think like artists recognize this, and I think a lot of artists don't enjoy doing snippets and leaks because it's something they're working on. Either release it all or only release the best of the very best. I don't really think there's a healthy middle ground there. Like, either have a side project where you release all the stuff you make, include the bonuses, or do it on like a demos and B-sides thing for the fans, or never release those, just release the best of the best. I don't really get the whole like teasing stuff just for the public reaction. Yeah, so I'm gonna do a snippet of one of my songs that's coming out. Whoa. That's it. That's a snippet. You get all like 5 of those seconds, and I hope you like the song. In all seriousness, check out my music, like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching.